In today's video, I want to talk through a few of the things that as landscape photographers we can be doing during this period when it's either difficult or, as in some cases, impossible to go out and actually do any landscape photography. Things to keep us occupied, things to keep the creative juices flowing. I hope you'll enjoy it. Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. So we're going into week 2 of the enforced lockdown here in Spain, and that means no way to go out and do any landscape photography. And I know that lots of other people all around the world are in a similar situation, either enforced lockdown like we have here, or maybe just doing the responsible thing and self-isolating, staying at home and not taking any chances on aiding the spread of this virus. So what I thought I'd do in this video is share some thoughts on the kind of things that we can be doing in this difficult time when we can't go out. Some things that will help us get ready for when this period is over and we can start to get out and do more photography, but also things to keep the creative juices flowing in this period. I hope you'll enjoy it. If you do, and you're not already a subscriber, please consider hitting subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Okay, so we're in lockdown, we're stuck at home. What can we do to keep busy? Well, one thing we could consider doing is getting the gear out and giving it a thorough clean. Those filters, when was the last time those filters had a really good buff up? What about your lenses? Are the lenses due for a proper deep clean? And let's be honest, how many dust spots have you got on your sensor that you're cloning out on every photo? So what about taking a little bit of time to clean your sensor? Now, of course, none of those things are going to take up days of effort, but it's something that we can do that we might not otherwise find the time to do thoroughly. So at least if we do this, we know that when this period is over, when we can get back out again, our gear is going to be in tip-top condition and ready to take some beautiful photos. Have you got a website? When was the last time it had a nice refresh? You know, maybe some new sort of cover images, maybe even a change to the style, even if it's just a case of updating the about me information or putting some new details on there. It's a great time to do this because, again, it's one of those things that we often put off doing because we're just too busy doing other things, going out and taking photos and then processing those photos. So if you've got a website, why not spend a bit of time giving it some TLC and making it look the best it can be? Now, I have to say, personally, I actually did that in January, so it's a job that I've already done. But if I'd known what was coming, it's certainly something I would have postponed and done during this period. What about if you haven't got a website? Well, now might be a great time to look at options to setting one up. There are all sorts of website services that you can go to, things like Zenfolio and Squarespace. If you're using things like Fine Art America, you can set up a website associated with your portfolio on Fine Art America, and it doesn't cost you any extra over and above the membership that you're already paying. And you can always point a custom domain name at any of these sites. Do you have a portfolio of your very best images, the ones that you think represent your work in the best possible way? If you have, when was the last time you went through and gave it a good checking over? Make sure that the images that are on there are the right images. Maybe you need to add some images that are more recent that you haven't got around to putting on there. Maybe there are some images that you put on there a while ago that you could really do with taking off because they're no longer your best work. And if you haven't got a portfolio, well, now might be a great time to set one up. Go back and have a look at your images, the ones that you think are your favourites, and present them on a website or on a Facebook page or on something that lets people see your very best work. Not only is having a portfolio a great way to show people what you can do, it's actually a very good thing for your own personal development as well, because if you try to limit the images that are on there, it helps you to grow as a photographer by always trying to improve on your best work, which is represented in the portfolio. We've also got to hope that this is going to come to an end at some point in the not too distant future, and when it does, we want to be able to get out and do some photography again. So why not take the time to do some research, look at possible locations that you can visit, look at when will be a good time to visit them, and maybe even do things like, you know, programming them into your satellite navigation, GPS, whatever it might be, so that when we can get out and about again, we're ready to go. How long has it been since you went back and looked at your old images, the images that you shot 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, more? That's what I've been doing a little bit of over the last week. I've been looking at images starting off at sort of 2017, 2016, going through and looking at the images where I think I've got good composition and I've got good light, and seeing if they can benefit from reprocessing, going back to the original raw file and processing them from scratch. And it's surprising how many images I've found that I can improve just by the fact that my post-processing skills and approach has improved over the last few years. And I've been sharing some of those images on social media, and even more recently I've started looking back at some older images. Now, when I got back into landscape photography, I bought a Nikon D5000. That was the first digital SLR that I bought. And I've even looked at a few images that I shot with that camera. They're only 12 megapixel images, but there's a few of them that I've seen in there that now that I've reprocessed them, I think they're actually pretty good. And there's even one of them that might make it into my portfolio, maybe. And I would never have thought to go back that far and start looking at those images again if I hadn't been looking for ways to fill the time that this enforced isolation is bringing about. So go back and have a look at your old images and see if you can improve on them by using new and improved processing techniques. And on the subject of processing, now is a great time to do a bit of learning, to learn about new techniques or to practice new techniques. And one of the things I've been doing here is looking at, shall we say, more creative processing. Not so much processing a photograph, but taking a photograph and turning it into something else. This is more digital art perhaps than it is photography. I don't know, maybe it's fine art. Depends on, I think it's even stretching my definition of fine art photography, but it's producing some images that are impossible but actually might look quite nice. And over the coming days and weeks I might share some of those as well. But if you don't want to go to that extreme, there are techniques out there that we can spend the time learning and practicing. And again, by going back perhaps and looking at some of our older images and practicing these new techniques on them, we might be surprised at just what we can achieve. Of course, none of this stuff involves pressing the shutter release button, and all of us are going to be missing that if we can't get out and about. But are there possibilities, while staying within the confines of your home, where you could actually do some photography outside? If you've got a garden, there's bound to be some possibilities in there. Plants, animals, I don't know what you've got in your garden, but it's worth having a look and seeing what you can do. Okay, I don't have a garden, but I do have a balcony. And I am really lucky because I do have a little bit of a sea view. And I can see the end of one of the breakwaters out there, and that's in the direction roughly of sunrise. So there's definitely some possibilities for me to come out on this balcony, which is still part of my home. It's still not a public place, not a public area, so I'm within the rules and I'm not putting anybody at risk by doing it. But there's just a possibility I might be able to come out here and do some kind of photography pointing out that way. But even if I didn't have the sea there, you know, maybe there's other possibilities. There's, you know, there's buildings, there's maybe detailed shots that could be taken of some of the features around here. I don't know what you've got, but it's worth just going and having a look. If all you've got is a window, consider whether there is something you can shoot from that that might make for an interesting image. It's not going to be, you know, a great landscape photography image, but maybe there's some kind of art image that you can consider shooting if you shoot at the right time of day and use the right techniques, both in camera and in terms of post-processing. And even if you can't do anything outside, is there a possibility to do some photography inside? I've seen lots of art images that have been done where people have taken, you know, everyday household objects and created some amazing kind of abstract art from them. I've never really got around to trying to do that myself. So if I can't go out and do some photography, maybe it's worth giving it a go. And if it works out, or even if it doesn't, maybe I'll do a video on it and share it with you. And of course, finally, there's always YouTube videos. I'm always struggling to keep up with all the videos I'd like to watch. And I'm going to take some time here just to you know, binge watch some. I'm going to see what I can learn from them. I can see what inspiration I can get from them that I can take forward for when this situation is over, and I can get back out and do some proper photography again. That's my ideas. What about yours? Have you got some you'd like to share? If so, leave them in the comments down below. If you found this video enjoyable, interesting, informative, then please consider giving it a like, hit that thumbs up button. And if you share it on social media, maybe other people who are looking for ideas will get to see it, and maybe they'll share some ideas of their own as well. In the meantime, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I just want everybody out there to stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we can get through this thing as soon as possible. So thank you very much, and until the next video, bye. Okay, so my first thought on this image